Hi, my name is Dr. Cheryl Kasuga, and I'm here to talk about my model of practice. Because of my clinical background, I'm able to work with athletes on both their performance enhancement and whatever clinical issues or behavioral issues that they may have. But right now, I'm only going to focus on the performance enhancement side. I could also still use my clinical background to enhance my work with athletes. One of the main foundations of my work with athletes is I use empirically validated techniques. So what that is I pick from well-established techniques that have been found to be effective with the certain population that I'm working with. And I usually research it or use techniques that I am familiar with. For instance, in my clinical work, I use interventions that are based from the principles of applied behavioral analysis, or ABA. These are behavioral interventions that are effective for children with autism, but it has also been validated for athletes because sport performance is also behavior. So whenever I'm working with an athlete, I do a functional behavioral analysis, and then I look at the target behavior and see what is the purpose of that behavior, whether it's self-handicapping or choking, and then I try to replace the maladaptive behavior with an alternative behavior that can potentially help with their performance. So whether it's a clinical intervention or a sports psych intervention, I always make it a point to use well-established technique. The second foundation for my practice is I use a strength-based approach to consulting. I'm a big proponent of strength-based approach, whether it's my clinical work or my sports psych consulting work. Basically, I try to integrate as much of the athlete's current strengths as part of their program, and I use their strengths to work on whatever they want to enhance. Most athletes come with pretty good set of skills, and I just try to see what's going to be helpful for them. And I always try to work with athletes from their baseline. I try to celebrate each successes. That way the athlete will feel empowered. So those are the two foundations of my practice. One is I use well-established techniques, and the second one is strength-based approach. So now let me talk about the framework in which I work with athletes. So whenever I work with an athlete, I start with an assessment. My assessments are usually multimodal, so I interview them, try to get to know them as much as possible. I try to watch them actively engaging their sport. And with their permission, I also talk to their coach or their teammates. That way I'll get information from different sources, and that will help me with the creation of their sports psych program. The second part of my framework when working with athletes after the assessment is the programming piece. My sports psych programs are usually flexible. I work collaboratively with the athlete, and I give them options on what approach they want to use to get to a goal. And that also helps them have ownership of their own program. And part of their program is I usually integrate multicultural factors that are impacting their performance, whether it's cultural practices that is important to them. If they're religious, usually that helps them become confident and feel grounded and centered. So if religion is important for them, I try to integrate that into their program. So I try to individualize their program by accounting for their multicultural backgrounds. And this is helpful because most of my clients come from diverse backgrounds. I work with athletes in the Bay Area, which is a very diverse city, and I work with a lot of boxers and fighters, and they're mostly from diverse backgrounds. And the third part of my framework when working with athletes after the assessment and the programming piece is the evaluation piece. Every time I work with an athlete, it's always within a certain time frame that we agree upon. And at the end of that, we usually evaluate the program, see what worked, see what needs to be tweaked, see what the next step is, or even like talk about maintenance of current successes and gains. So in a nutshell, that's my model of practice. Thank you for listening.